comedians are something terrible and special at the same time. It was the comics that kept me lifted up.
It is a recession-proof profession.
Yes.
Because in COVID, we want to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a recession, we want to laugh.
Right.
Denzel Washington tells a story about when he was at the Boys Club of America, it was prophesied to him that he was going to preach to millions of people around the world. Right. He said it took him time to realize that his preaching would be his acting. Do you think comedy is your ministry?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Bryant, one of the things that I realized is not about me, right? I remember when my grandfather died. My grandfather and I was real close. I left the cemetery, stopped by the repast, and went to Jackson, Mississippi, and did a show that night.
No way.
Number one, that's what my grandfather would have wanted me to do.
Yeah.
Number two, it ain't about me. Because guess what? Their grandfather died also.
Yeah.
They're dying. I walked on the stage that night and people fighting cancer and on dialysis and have on oxygen. Seeing Rickey Smiley and Martin Lawrence and D. Ray Davis and all the comedians that was on the show was probably the last thing that some of them was going to do before they leave this earth.
Yeah.
So you can't, I feel like for me, much is given, much is required. My son died on a Sunday. That Wednesday, I was back on the radio. They said, take as much time as you need. So you lay in the bed and think about all of that stuff, or you get up and go to work.
Yeah.
I got up and went to work because thought about all of the single mothers in Chicago whose teenagers been killed. They listen to the Rickey Smiley morning show every morning. Maybe I can be a blessing to somebody. Maybe I can minister to somebody else. And like you preached, I heard in one of your sermons, you say it's all the test, right? But it don't feel like a test when you're going through it.
Yeah.
But you have to snap out of it and go back to that word or those poems.
Yeah.
Poems, perms. Invictus.
Yes.
See it through.
Yes.
Everything that you had to learn when you was pledging.
Yeah.
You have to use that stuff during times of trials and tribulations. You have to snap out of it and how is God going to use me in this process going through this right here? You get to grieve later, through therapy and you're going to have some days where you're going to sit in the house and just have to cry it out. But man, all of the people that's listening to the morning show who teenagers got killed. My son was 32.
Wow.
Now, there's a mother that listens to the Rickey Smiley morning show who's 15-year-old, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You understand that they've gotten killed. And you got to go out there, and they worried about you because they listen to your show every morning.
Yeah.
So you got to let them know that you're okay. And now we're all in this together and be asked to some kind of ministry for them to give them some hope. Because you don't want your fans worried about you or whatever, so.
Yeah, but at what point in your grieving process, while you feel a ministry to the masses, do you make self-care the priority?
Yeah, through having a morning show, I have a therapist on my morning show once a week. And you have to get into therapy because it's funny, we just have this stigma about self-care and getting the help that we need. If you break your ankle, you going to the doctor.
Right.
You mess up your knees, your arm, you going to the doctor. Why are we going to go to the doctor for our mind when we go through trauma?
Right.
God created therapists just like he created medical doctors for everything else. And we have to go and get the help that we need so you can figure out how to process. Because Dr. Bryant, some people don't survive their loved ones. I have funeral directors tell me all the time they saw people go up there and view a body and go sit on the front row and have a massive heart attack and die right then.
Wow.
Or die at the cemetery.
Right.
When the casket is going down.
Lord.
I'm talking about die right then.
Yeah.
I've had hundreds of pastors tell me that, that people don't live a long time after suffering a loss. So, if you got younger kids and family members and you still a leader in your family and important to your family, you have to go get the help that you need. It's tough, but you have to survive it. And therapy is one of them. Staying close to God is the other, and doing things that you like to do. You got to go out and make yourself laugh. You got to go work in your garden. You got to go skating. You got to go shoot some basketball. You got to go and do some things that you like to create some happiness for yourself.
Yeah. In the Black community, addiction is criminalized.
Yes.
In the Caucasian community, I'm making up a word, is therapized. Mm-hmm. They can send you to therapy and get it done. What would you say to families who are dealing with and encountering addiction and don't feel like they're making any headway? Because you're in this tough love to say, I ain't giving you no more money, and you can't come in this house, right? And I don't want you around the babies. What do you do? Yeah,
I had to set some boundaries for my son. The only thing you can do is just get them help, because you're not a specialist on drug addiction. The only thing someone could do is try to get your loved one help and put them in some insurance.
Yeah.
If they high risk. That's just the business. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I know people in the Christian community say you're putting words out there, but well, okay, you got insurance for your house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You live
and your car.
Right, and your car. And you on a highway, your car becomes a risk of getting hit. You live in Georgia, your house is a risk of getting affected by a tornado.
Right.
If you live in Florida, you're a risk of a hurricane.
Yeah.
California earthquake.
Yeah.
You have to take care of the business, because if your child is high risk or your uncle is high risk or whatever, you go to try to get him help so he can get better. Yeah. But at the same time, you have to prepare for the worst, because you know what's out there. Let's just be real. I know what's out there.
Yeah.
I had a nephew to pass away. I had a niece and a nephew to pass away. They all aged 32. My son, my niece, my nephew, they all passed away aged 32, fentanyl. So if you know what's out there, and stuff, you just have to start preparing yourself. I had set my kids down and told them probably like a year before this happened, and had a conversation at the table. Everybody flew in. I said, listen, we're going to have to prepare ourselves, because I saw it coming.
Wow.
You praying at the same time.
Yeah.
Doing everything you can as a dad, and you praying, but you know what's out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I had to be real with my kids and prepare them.
No, that's
But
heavy.
nothing could have prepared us for when it actually happened. Yeah. That didn't make it
lighter or
easier. Yeah.
Dale Bronner said, we're born looking like our parents, and we die looking like our decisions. One of the critical things I want you to help with, whether or dealing with addiction or otherwise, the responsibility we feel as parents, drum roll, on grown kids. So you talk about kids, people thinking of a 13-year-old, a 16-year-old, an 11-year-old. But how then do you free yourself to say, this was an adult that made that decision? Because you've got parents who are listening, who are watching, who have served themselves a life sentence of not being able to forgive themselves for the decisions adult children have made.
Yeah, I don't feel guilty about anything. And I had family members, because me and my son, I had to put some space between me and my son, because it was things that he's, said, during his addiction to me, where I was driving around Birmingham looking for him to kill him myself, because I was that mad.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a black dad. You just can't say certain stuff to me.
Right.
Like, I'm ready to fight you in the middle of the street. And I didn't have a full understanding that addiction caused that kind of behavior, because my niece and my nephew were totally different.